Hey all, just thought I'd chime in while I take a brief break from housework today and before my son gets home from school, which puts me into full-time mommy mode. Anyway, I just heard on several news channels that the Democratic Party is feeling unnerved and unstable. Why? Well, because rather they're losing their core demographic or the support of their core demographic. They're losing the black vote, the Hispanic vote, and perhaps the young vote. I think they mentioned that as well. So they're losing their base, and rightfully so. So what are they doing? They're trying to bribe their base. And one of the bribes they're using is student loan debt forgiveness. Now, I'm here to tell you that while I've chosen to be home for my child, I do have enough degrees to wallpaper my house. But I didn't get those degrees because anyone paid for me. Well, other than my mom, who happened to be a single mom because my dad passed on because of PTSD-related illness. Now, nobody forgave my mother's debts when she was a single mom, wife of a military man who was deceased because of his military service, a service that helped build this nation that he literally gave his life for, maybe not on the battlefield, but afterwards. And nobody helped me. Well, I did get some help. I got scholarships. But I got that help because I busted my own fat ass to make sure that I got good grades. And I didn't have a helicopter parent or a tiger mom or anyone to help me. What I didn't understand, I had to figure out on my own. I had to schlep myself on foot to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System to find books that would give me answers that maybe I understood, that would help me answer questions that I wasn't sure I understood because I was a child. I couldn't go to the internet or my well-educated mommy to help me. I had to do it on my own. And I was always a straight A student. A straight A student who got scholarships to pursue her higher education. And even so, I went to work. Went to work, not part-time, full-time. Every day of the week that I wasn't in school, I was at work. I started in high school and it went all the way through college and beyond. In fact, I started working at the age of maybe 13 back in the day. And in college, I would go to school Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from about 7 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning until probably 9 to 10 o'clock at night. I would go home and study, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays when I was not in class, I would be at the mall working from the minute it opened to the minute it closed at 9:30. I'd get home around 10 o'clock. And from 10 o'clock till about 2 in the morning would be doing homework, unassisted, on my own, sometimes pulling all-nighters to ensure I got the grades that would entitle me to the scholarships that afforded me my education. So nobody helped my mother, and nobody helped me get my education, and nobody forgave my loans. I had to either get scholarships or pay for them on my own, and I did work. I have an aunt who's now in her golden years, who also got no help. Her parents did everything on their own. They got married. I think my grandmother was 18 and my grandfather was maybe 20, 21 when they tied the knot. And neither one of them came from families of means. So at the ripe old age of 18 and 21, they scraped and worked to buy a home. And they didn't have the ways and means to put their children through university and college. But my aunt took it upon herself to work. Yup, bust her own ass. Not looking for handouts, rather, from family or friends or the government. But busted her own ass to go to school. And in fact, got married very young. and even as a wife and later on a mother, continued to pursue her education. An education which got her a job as a teacher. And then, as a teacher, wife, and mother, she continued to pursue an even higher education, which would allow her to garner a position as a principal, an administrator, and provide better for her family. She did it on her own, as many of us did. But now we have these bunch of over-entitled, no child left behind, lazy asses who don't want to work 40 hours a week, nor do they want to work 5 days a week because they don't need the stress, because mommy and daddy and everybody have done it for them their entire lives. These entitled, spoiled brats. And now, as they embark on adulthood, since mommy and daddy can no longer coddle them, they expect society, you and me, to coddle them and pay off their college debt. Why don't they do what my aunt did, what I did, and what like so many others like me did? Go to work and bust their own freaking ass to get an education. And if they're like many of the people I know, like my mother-in-law and some close friends who couldn't afford an education, well, they took a job that paid well and did not require a higher education. And they didn't bitch, cry, or moan, or go lock themselves in a cry closet because they had to work overtime and double time and triple time and their job was hard. Itty boo, no one cares. Why should we have to pay for their loan forgiveness? You want an education? Then bust your ass to get good grades so that you can get scholarships. Otherwise, do what I did. In addition to my scholarships, got a job, went to work, and helped pay off any debt that I might have incurred. Helped buy my own damn car. Contributed to helping my mother pay household bills. Whether she used my money partially, totally, or not at all is none of anyone's business. But my check went straight into the household kitty to help if help was needed. And now the only help we're giving young people is showing them that they don't have to lift a blessed finger, but everything's going to be handed to them. Shame on us. And shame on any government who proposes that, because we're creating a society of lazy, complacent, apathetic, over-entitled, miscreant, misfit, spoiled brats. And that's not who I want my child to be, or that's not who I want my son to marry. And if you're going to start forgiving student loan debt, then you might want to start forgiving other debts. How about debts of veterans or their families? How about relieving their debt? How about people who are young, who have terminal illnesses? Why do those families have to pay for exorbitant medical when we can forgive their medical debt? Especially for illnesses that these young children did not bring upon themselves through bad life choices like smoking or drinking or drug use and abuse. Why do we not have medical debt forgiveness for senior citizens who face medical challenges simply because of their age? Why don't we forgive their debt? Why don't we forgive tax debt for senior citizens who paid their dues, and we are now expecting them to pay these outrageous taxes and mortgages and everything else that young people should be paying? Why don't you forgive my mortgage debt? Why don't you forgive my car debt? Why don't you forgive my electricity debt? Why don't you forgive my grocery debt? Hey, a lot of us lost our livelihoods during the scamdemic that put money in the politicians' pockets with bullshit mask wearing, masks that were discarded on the streets where the germs were strewn into the air. Yeah, like that helped anybody. But I digress. So why don't we show forgiveness to people like me and many others like me who have families? Why don't we forgive dental debt for children like mine who need braces? If you're going to start forgiving debt, you better start forgiving it across the board. You better put your money where your big fat mouth is. And stop trying to make yourselves look good on bullshit promises. But that's just my 2 cents.